Hi there, welcome back to my channel. I am Desiree McFarlane, and one of the topical things in HR right now is the future of work. And many leaders are confused about how do we get back to normal. Well, I have good news for you. We're going to get back to normal by adapting to the current scenario and planning for the future. Normal is really going to be how do we get back to the high levels of productivity and engagement and loyalty that we had before the pandemic. That's what normal is. If we're talking about work arrangements, no, we will not get back to those work arrangements. So today I'm going to be giving the HR perspective. What do I think that HR leaders need to be focused on at this time to help organizations to mitigate the challenges posed by the pandemic with regards to the future of work? So let's get into it. So I came across a study done in 2020 by Deloitte, and it says that what organizations and leaders should be focused on right now is the societal and organization changes that the pandemic has brought about. Now, that has to be our focus. And then we must build on the lessons that we have learned from the pandemic, as well as the practices that we executed during the height of the crisis. And I dare say, I feel like we're still going through the height of the pandemic as the virus is mutating and people are getting affected. So we are still at the height of the pandemic and we're still learning, but we need to build on what we started as opposed to slowing down or thinking that we're going to go back to what we had considered normal. So most people talk about the new normal, and yes, it is a new normal that will drive the future of work. So I like what the study says. The societal shifts and the organizational shifts that have been made, we need to look at those and we need to build on them instead of trying to go back. So what should be the main focus of human resource leaders? I think there are four things that we need to be focused on. The first one is our people strategy. We need to ensure that our people strategy is at the forefront of the organization. As we can see, the pandemic does not affect buildings and machines, it impacts people. And if anything this pandemic has done is to show the importance that when we say people, our most valuable resource, it is a fact that without our people, everything shuts down. Everything shuts down if our people are not able to move about. Then there is communication. We need a powerful communication strategy that help us to stay in touch with our employees and for them to give us feedback. It has to be two-way communication. We are talking with them, we are sharing with them, and they are sharing with us. And together we are collaborating on the solutions. And this brings me to support. Every leader now need to understand the importance of supporting their employees. And I'll speak a little bit more about how they can do that as I go through this brief presentation. And then there's development. If there's a time that organizations need to be building their development or their training budget, it is now. It is not time to lower it. Remember, there are people who are being introduced to new technologies and new ways of doing things, and they will require training and development in order to do so. So I would say, first things first for HR. HR needs to start helping all leaders, especially those at the top, to understand that what is important now is not to focus on when and where work is done, but how and why people work. People work because they need to sustain themselves and to sustain their families. And so it is absolutely necessary that they are supported at this time. If in order to maintain their mental health, they want to work from the beach or from a vacation home, just take a few days away from the family just to have some time to themselves, but they are able to still deliver on the metrics. That is what is important. When the regular work hours is also out, many persons are now schooling their children from home. And so to stick to, okay, you work from 8 to 5, or you work from 8:30 to 4:30, or 9 to 5, is not going to work. So flexibility is going to be required. So the when and the where is not as important. I recall talking to one HR manager that says he was going to lose a very key talent to migration, and then the pandemic hit, and he recognized, oh my goodness, this person was working from home. We can retain that talent, and they did. So just use that example to understand that it doesn't matter where and when, it matters how. We want them to be productive, and we'll be speaking a little bit more about that as the presentation goes along. So some people initiatives that I would encourage HR to start getting into, celebrating successes, not because we're hybrid, not because some people are at home and some are at the workplace or the factory or the lab or the hospitals or the restaurant, wherever they're working, doesn't mean that we forget recognition. It is still absolutely necessary that we celebrate success, and we can do so both virtually and in person, and we can bring everybody together using the technology, and so that everybody can be a part of the celebration for the success of those who are doing outstanding work. Team meetings using the virtual platform should also encourage on-camera experiences. Sometimes I'm doing a presentation and I'm talking to a screen, like I'm in a Zoom room and I'm just talking, and everybody is incognito. Nobody wants to show their faces. The organization can put together principles, policies, and practices that when we're having team meetings, we do them on camera, so that we can really have a more engaging experience. Then we can also, using that same face-to-face virtually, to have fun team activities. And I also encourage organizations, HR, please try to find occasion where you can go for ice cream in a park, properly socially distanced, and people can talk to people and sort of have that community that is missing now in the virtual space. There's nothing like person to person, we know that. So from time to time, if that can be facilitated, please go ahead and consider that. Team building activities, right? To reinforce the importance of teamwork. Even though we're hybrid, we're still a part of a value chain, and there are people still depending on what we do, and we should put some value on that. So team building exercises, virtual team building is also possible, as well as both virtual and in-person team building sessions. And then you need question and answer sessions. Leaders now need to do a lot of listening to the team members. They have ideas, they can help you, they can support you. Listen to them, and they will help to resolve some of the things that we are bursting our minds, our brains, trying to determine. They have the answers. Please go on those question and answers and those listening expedition with your team members, and you will learn a lot. And HR need to be recommending and supporting these, even leading them, ensuring that they happen on a regular basis. So let's talk about some communication initiatives. Improved communication at this time is critical. So I recommend that every leader, at least once per month, have a one-to-one conversation with their individual team member. This is not a team meeting now, this is meeting one-to-one with each team member, and give them 30 to 45 minutes to talk to you, and you listen. HR need to insist that these are listening sessions, that the leaders can understand how they can better support the employee based on their individual needs. Maybe it's at those times that you're going to be talking about the best work arrangement for that team member. And also, this one should be done on camera when it is done remotely, and when it is in person. Go into the boardroom. Don't just call the person on the phone and have the session. Both of you in the boardroom, properly socially distanced, and so that you can talk to that person and you can see and listen and hear what they're going through. And it's important to ask the right questions. When we're communicating, it is important to ask the right questions. And I recommend open-ended questions. When we say, how are you? And they say, fine. Say, really, tell me, how was your day been? How has the month been? We're now almost 2 years into the pandemic. How are you coping? Tell me a little bit about the things that have changed radical for you and how I can support you. Probe to get their perspective so that you can understand how to relate to them and how to support them. And then empathy. If we're not listening actively, we cannot really demonstrate empathy. If we already think that we know what an employee is going to say, that takes away from it as well. And so, in terms of empathy, spend less time talking and more time listening to the employees so that you can understand exactly what their issues are. Make notes and repeat so that they know that you are listening, that you understand. And when you're repeating, make sure that your tone is correct. Demonstrate empathy even in the way you respond and the way you speak. And then ask, how can I support you? What more can I do for you? And follow through on that. Then in terms of support initiatives, I had a scenario at the beginning of the pandemic where I needed a proper desk. If your employee is working full-time from home and the desk that they had at the workplace can be moved to the home, offer it. Also, chair. The ergonomics are so important. The right instrument instead of the desktop computer. It's hard to take home a desktop computer. It's easier to take home a laptop computer. So invest in these new equipment so that the employees can have the right tools in order to remain productive. Remember, when you invest, you're contributing to productivity on the bottom line. When you expense, that is just money that you're paying out. So HR needs to speak the right language, talk about investing in our people, and then, invest in a monitor, a keyboard, anything that will add to the productivity and engagement and support of the employee so that they can be productive and loyal to you and the organization. Finally, development initiatives, online courses. Somebody is falling down. This is a time to see what courses that they can do instead of a trainer coming in. What courses can they do online to improve their skills, their competences, so that they can be more productive and more relevant to the organization. Also, remember, promote pay for performance. Let people to understand that if you keep your performance up, if you have a bonus system where their bonus will be better because it's based on performance. So ensure that a part of your employee's compensation, not salary, compensation is based on pay for performance. And then empowerment sessions. You need those sessions to help employees build their resilient muscles. So you call in a motivational speaker or someone who can really pump up your team, and so that they can build their mental fortitude to withstand the impact of the pandemic. HR leaders, you cannot do it all. Sometimes you need the support of a real professional, a psychologist, somebody also, not necessarily a psychologist, but somebody who have the experience in helping people to cope at this time. And so finally, I want to say to HR leaders, remember to guard your HR essentials. Remember, maintain trust. It is absolutely important that you maintain trust and confidentiality. You demonstrate respect at all times. Encourage leaders not to be calling employees after work hours or on weekends because they're working from home. Please ensure that you communicate that trust and respect are still part of the culture of your organization. And then again, I said, show empathy. When somebody is having a bad day, their mental health is being impacted, ensure that you caution leaders if they do not know what to do, to come to you, and it'll help them to figure out what is the right answer or initiative to do for that employee. And ensure fairness. Ensure that this is happening right across the board. So not just some leaders that are complying, but you have to hold all leaders accountable. I hope this presentation has been, something that you can use. Focus on your people, focus on communication, focus on support and development, and maybe, just maybe, you as an HR leader will properly equip and support your organization in meeting and mitigating the challenges of the future of work. Until next time, I wish you well as you practice these principles going forward. Thank you.